All right, so as you can see, we have these two pieces of brain tan lashed onto this quiver. They're nice and tight, nice and secure. I took a pair of scissors and frayed out the top, frayed out the bottom. That adds character to this quiver and it adds a bit of decoration. So at this point, I want to sew up the mouth. That'll prevent my arrows from dumping out the bottom. And then I'm also going to sew these two pieces of brain tan together so I can strap it around my body. So I'll show you how to do that right now. So what I've done is I took a tape measure and I measured the width of the opening. That's your first step. I measured that this is 3 inches. So I cut a piece of brain tan 3 inches wide and 4 inches deep. I flipped the quiver inside out so you can see once again we have the skin side out. And I welted it right in the center. So you can see we have the otter on the top, on the bottom. That's the otter skin, and then the brain tan, the buckskin, is right in the center. I took 4 pieces of artificial sinew and I clamped that together, just simple square knots. And that'll give a base. And that'll keep this thing, like I said, clamped together so it doesn't slip around on you. And the same thing, we're taking our artificial sinew and we're just creating a whip stitch. Pretty much just like this. The difference is we're going through the otter as well as the brain tan. That's the most important part. You want to make sure you go through the hide as well as that brain tan. This is probably the most complex part of the quiver, just because sometimes it can get a little bit difficult to feed your needle through. And with some of the thicker hides, you might have to use an awl to punch through. And I'll do this once more. So I stitch this fairly close together. And I bite down low. And I start feeding the needle through. And pull tight. Just snug it. You don't want to really yank on it, but that's a basic premise. So you see now I have 2 stitches, and I'll just do the same thing all the way down. Once I reach this edge, I'll come back with you. And here we are. We have the whip stitch complete. We have these tag ends trimmed down, and I have a little bit of thread here. So what I want to do is I just want to create a few knots that'll hold this in place. Now this is the inside of the quiver, of course, so these knots are all going to be hidden. And I just cinch down tight. And you can see that knot is right on that hide. So here's our quiver. You can see our 2 straps, and then this is that piece of brain tan we just sewed in. I'll take scissors, trim strips into this, and that'll add decoration. All right, so you can see how this bottom turned out. We have this frayed, and that adds a decoration. I took the 2 pieces of brain tan and just looped them together and tied in a square knot. So what I want to do at this point is wear it around my body, measure it out, and sew the brain tan together, adding a welt in the center. Then this quiver will be complete. So what you do is cut a piece of leather, just a real small piece. It's always helpful to measure it and then cut a little bit longer than you need. You can always trim the tag ends once you're done. And just insert that right in between the two straps where you cut. And the same thing goes, just creating a whip stitch. Need to push that needle in a little bit more. There we go. Once you're done sewing all the way to the end, you can hide your knot in between that little wedge, and that'll protect it as well.